You won't be joining us on the Cabo trip today, Mom. Michael wants his family only. The text from my daughter Sarah hit my phone screen like a slap across the face. I immediately called the moving company and canceled all remaining payments on their house. The sweet satisfaction of watching their dream crumble would be worth every penny I'd already spent. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up and tell you how I ended up playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. My name is Margaret Thompson, but everyone calls me Maggie, and at 68 years old, I thought I'd seen every kind of betrayal possible. Boy, was I wrong. 3 months earlier, Sarah had called me in tears. Mom, we found the perfect house, but we're short on the down payment. Could you help us out? Just this once? The house was a stunning 4-bedroom colonial in the best neighborhood in town, complete with a 3-car garage and a pool. The kind of place I'd dreamed of giving my only child. How much do you need, sweetheart? I'd asked, already reaching for my checkbook. After my husband died 5 years ago, his life insurance had left me comfortable. What good was money if I couldn't use it to help my family? $80,000 for the down payment. And if you could help with the monthly mortgage until Michael's promotion comes through. Sarah's voice had been hopeful, manipulative in that way children perfect by age 5. I'd written the check without hesitation. $80,000 from my savings, plus agreeing to cover their monthly mortgage payments of $3,200. Consider it an early inheritance, I'd told her, ignoring the little voice in my head that whispered I was being taken advantage of. For 3 months, I'd faithfully transferred money every month, watching my own savings dwindle while they posted Facebook photos of expensive dinners and shopping trips. But I'd kept quiet, telling myself that family comes first. The Cabo trip had been planned for weeks. Sarah had shown me the resort photos, gushing about the all-inclusive luxury package, the snorkeling excursions, the spa treatments. It'll be so wonderful to have 3 generations together, she'd said. The kids are so excited to spend time with Grandma. I'd bought new clothes, gotten my hair done, even splurged on a pedicure. 68 years old, and still trying to look good for my family. The thought makes me laugh now, though it wasn't funny then. That morning, I'd been loading my suitcase into the car when Sarah's text arrived. No phone call, no explanation, just a cold dismissal that cut deeper than any knife. Michael wants his family only. As if I wasn't family. As if the woman who'd raised Sarah for 18 years, who'd paid for her wedding, who was currently funding their lifestyle, was just some stranger they'd tolerate when convenient. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, reading the message over and over, feeling something crack inside my chest. Not break entirely, just crack enough to let the light in. The light that showed me exactly how stupid I'd been. That's when I made the first call. Hello, this is Margaret Thompson. I need to speak to someone about canceling automatic payments to the Henderson account. The mortgage company was surprisingly helpful once I explained the situation. Yes, Mrs. Thompson, we can stop all future payments immediately. However, you should know that the account is currently 3 months behind, even with your contributions. 3 months behind? I'd been paying their mortgage religiously every month. Where was that money going? I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? The mortgage payment is $4,200 monthly. You've been contributing $3,200, but there's been a shortfall of $1,000 each month that the primary borrowers haven't covered. My hands started shaking. They'd lied to me about the mortgage amount, letting me think I was covering the full payment while they struggled to come up with the difference. Except they weren't struggling. Michael had just bought a new BMW, and Sarah's Instagram was full of designer handbags and expensive wine tastings. I see. Please cancel all future payments from my account effective immediately. Ma'am, you should know that without your contributions, they'll be looking at foreclosure proceedings within 60 days. That's no longer my concern, I said, and meant it. My next call was to my neighbor's son, who happened to be a real estate attorney. David, it's Mrs. Thompson from next door. I have a hypothetical question about property ownership. Sure, Mrs. Thompson. What's going on? If someone puts down a substantial down payment on a house but isn't on the deed, do they have any claim to the property? There was a pause. Are we talking about a gift or a loan? I thought about all the times Sarah had promised to pay me back someday, while simultaneously treating my money like it was hers by right. Let's say it was presented as a loan but never formalized. Without paperwork, it's tricky. But if you can prove you made payments under the expectation of repayment or partial ownership, You might have grounds for a lawsuit, especially if there are text messages or emails discussing repayment. Oh, I had messages all right. 3 months of Sarah promising to make it right and pay you back with interest once Michael's promotion came through. Promotion that, I was beginning to suspect, was as fictional as their gratitude. David, I need to ask you another favor. Could you look into the property records for 1247 Elmwood Drive? I want to know exactly what the current mortgage situation is. Of course. Are you thinking of buying property in that area? Something like that. After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen, staring at the stack of thank you cards Sarah had sent over the years. Thanks for everything, Mom. You're the best mother in the world. Don't know what we'd do without you. Pretty words that cost nothing and meant less. My phone buzzed with a text from my 16-year-old granddaughter, Chloe. Grandma, why aren't you coming to Cabo? Mom said you were sick, but Dad's being weird about it. So Sarah was lying to the children too, telling them I was sick rather than admitting her husband had banned me from a family vacation I'd helped fund. The manipulation ran deeper than I'd thought. I texted back, just a change of plans, sweetheart. Have fun and take lots of pictures. But inside, I was plotting. If Michael wanted to play the game of his family only, then he was about to learn that my money was my money only. And unlike Michael, I played to win. David called back the next morning with information that made my blood boil. Mrs. Thompson, that property has quite a history. It was purchased 3 months ago for $600,000 with a down payment of $120,000. $120,000? But Sarah said they needed $80,000. According to the records, the buyers put down exactly $120,000. There's also a second mortgage for $40,000, which explains the higher monthly payments. They'd lied about everything, not just the amount they'd needed, but the actual down payment. They'd borrowed an additional $40,000 without telling me, probably for furniture and renovations based on Sarah's recent social media posts showing off their designer kitchen makeover. David, I need you to do something for me. I want to purchase that property. Purchase it? But it's already sold. Not if it goes into foreclosure. How quickly could that happen? There was a long pause. Mrs. Thompson, are you sure about this? Real estate can be complicated when family is involved. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The beauty of the situation was almost artistic. Without my mortgage payments, they couldn't afford the house. They'd be forced to sell quickly to avoid foreclosure, and I'd be ready with a cash offer. The same cash that had been sitting in my savings account, growing smaller each month as I funded their luxury lifestyle. I spent the afternoon doing research. Michael worked in sales for a tech company, and his promotion seemed to be perpetually next quarter. Sarah worked part-time at a boutique, making just enough to cover her shopping habit. Without my $3,000 a month, they'd be financially devastated within weeks. The thought should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it made me feel powerful for the first time in years. My phone rang around dinner time, Sarah's number. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to her message with growing satisfaction. Mom, hi, it's me. We just got to the resort and it's absolutely gorgeous. The kids wanted me to call and check on you since you're feeling under the weather. I told them you probably just needed rest. Anyway, we're having dinner by the pool tonight, and tomorrow we're going deep-sea fishing. Michael booked this amazing boat. Oh, and I meant to tell you, we might be a day late getting back. Michael wants to extend the trip. Love you. Not one word of concern about my sudden illness. Not one question about how I was feeling, or if I needed anything. Just a casual update from paradise, funded by my savings account. I called David back. How long do I have to wait before I can make an offer on a foreclosed property? Usually 60 to 90 days from the first missed payment. But Mrs. Thompson, I have to ask, are you absolutely certain about this course of action? This will likely destroy your relationship with your daughter. I thought about Sarah's text message, about being excluded from a family vacation because I wasn't real family, according to my son-in-law, about 3 months of lies regarding the mortgage amount, about the casual way they'd spent my money while treating me like a nuisance. David, my relationship with my daughter has been destroyed for months. I was just too blind to see it. Now I'm simply protecting my investment. In that case, I'll start preparing the paperwork, but you should know that they'll figure out you're behind this eventually. I smiled, feeling something that had been dead inside me for months suddenly spark back to life. I'm counting on it. The first missed mortgage payment hit their account on Tuesday. I know because David had set up alerts to track the property status. Sarah called that evening, her voice tight with panic. "Mom, there's been some kind of mistake with the bank. They're saying you canceled the automatic payment?" I was arranging flowers in my kitchen. Yellow roses from my garden. Amazing how much more beautiful everything looked when you weren't being taken advantage of. "There's no mistake, Sarah." "What do you mean there's no mistake? You agreed to help us with the mortgage." "I agreed to help with a $3,200 mortgage payment. I discovered it's actually $4,200, and you've been short every month for 3 months. I also discovered the down payment was $120,000, not $80,000 as you told me." The silence stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Finally, Sarah's voice came back, smaller now. "Mom, I can explain." "Please do. I'm fascinated to hear this explanation." "We needed the extra money for closing costs and immediate repairs. We were going to tell you, but you seemed so happy to help, and Michael thought—" "Michael thought what? That I was too stupid to notice? Too old to check the records? Too grateful for scraps of attention to question where my money was actually going? It's not like that." Sarah's voice was defensive now. "We were protecting you from the stress of the full amount." I almost laughed. Protecting me from my own generosity. By lying to me and letting me think I was covering your full mortgage while you struggled to pay the difference. Except you weren't struggling at all. You were buying BMWs and designer furniture. Michael worked hard for that promotion. He deserved a reward. What about what I deserved, Sarah? What did I deserve for handing over $80,000 and committing to monthly payments I couldn't afford? You could afford it. Dad left you plenty of money. And there it was. The entitlement that had been lurking beneath every conversation for months. In Sarah's mind, my money was her money, just temporarily stored in my account until she needed it. My comfort, my security, my retirement, all irrelevant compared to her wants. "Your father left me enough money to live comfortably, if I'm careful. Not enough to fund your fantasy lifestyle indefinitely. So you're just cutting us off? What about the kids? What about family loyalty? What about it, Sarah? Where was your family loyalty when you excluded me from the Cabo trip? When you lied to the children about why I wasn't coming? When you let your husband treat me like a charity case he was tired of supporting?" Another long silence. When Sarah spoke again, her voice was cold. "Michael never said you were a charity case." "No? Then why wasn't I welcome on a family vacation to a resort my money helped pay for?" "It's complicated. Mom, Michael's family dynamics are different. His parents are very involved, and adding more people would have changed the whole dynamic." "His parents? You mean the people who contributed exactly $0 to your house, your lifestyle, or this vacation? That's not fair." "You're right, it's not fair. None of this has been fair, but it's about to become very fair indeed." I hung up before she could respond, feeling lighter than I had in months. The truth was finally out in the open. No more pretending their behavior was acceptable. No more making excuses for their ingratitude. No more funding people who saw me as an ATM with familial obligations. My phone immediately started ringing again. I turned it off and went to water my garden, whistling for the first time since my husband died. David called the next morning with an update. They missed their second payment. The bank has started formal proceedings. Also, there's been some interesting activity on the property. "What kind of activity?" "Someone's been making inquiries about short sale procedures. I think they're panicking." Good. Panic was exactly what they deserved. I'd spent 3 months in financial panic every time I wrote those mortgage checks, watching my savings disappear while they lived like royalty. Turnabout was fair play. "Mrs. Thompson, I should warn you, they've retained an attorney. Someone from downtown. Expensive firm. They're probably going to claim the money was a gift, not a loan. Let them try. I have 3 months of text messages from Sarah promising to pay me back with interest once Michael's promotion came through. I also have documentation of every payment I made, clearly labeled as loan to Sarah and Michael, in my banking records." "Smart. You've been planning this." "No, David. I've been documenting it. There's a difference." That afternoon, a process server appeared at my door with legal papers. Sarah and Michael were suing me for financial elder abuse and demanding I resume mortgage payments while they pursued resolution of the property dispute. I actually laughed out loud. They were claiming I was abusing myself by refusing to give them money. The audacity was breathtaking. My phone rang an hour later, a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Thompson? This is Janet Morrison from Morrison, Klein & Associates. I represent your daughter and son-in-law. How lovely for you. Mrs. Thompson, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Your family is simply asking that you honor your original commitment to help with their mortgage while we work out the details of repayment. There's no misunderstanding, Ms. Morrison. I loaned money to people who lied about how much they needed and what they were using it for. When they excluded me from a family event because I wasn't real family, I decided my money wasn't real money either. That's a very emotional response to what appears to be a simple family miscommunication. Emotional. Of course, that's how they'd frame it. The hysterical old woman who couldn't handle a little exclusion. Ms. Morrison, I'm 68 years old, not 6. I don't make financial decisions based on emotions. I make them based on respect. Your clients have shown me none. Mrs. Thompson, if you force this property into foreclosure, you'll destroy your daughter's credit and your grandchildren's stability. Is that really what you want? What I want is for my daughter to experience the consequences of treating people badly. If that destroys her credit, perhaps she should have thought about that before lying to me for 3 months. We're prepared to offer a formal repayment plan. How generous. What are the terms? Partial repayment of the down payment contribution over 10 years, plus resumption of mortgage assistance until the property is sold or refinanced. I actually snorted. So I give them more money, accept a fraction of what they owe me, spread over a decade, and they get to keep their house. What exactly do I get out of this arrangement? You get to maintain your relationship with your family. Ms. Morrison, they ended that relationship when they decided I wasn't family enough to join their vacation. This lawsuit simply makes it official. I hung up and called David. Speed up the foreclosure paperwork. I want to make an offer the day it becomes available. Are you sure about this, Mrs. Thompson? They're going to fight dirty. Good thing I learned from the best then. The children came home from Cabo 3 days later, and according to my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, there was quite a scene in their driveway. Chloe and Ryan were excited to show me their vacation photos, but Sarah and Michael rushed them inside before they could cross the street to my house. An hour later, Chloe appeared at my back door, looking confused and upset. Grandma, Mom said you're sick, but you don't look sick. Are you okay? I invited her in for cookies and milk, the same snack I'd given her mother at that age. I'm perfectly fine, sweetheart. Did you have fun in Cabo? It was amazing, but weird. Mom and Dad kept acting strange, like they were waiting for bad news or something. And Dad was on his phone constantly, which isn't like him on vacation. Smart girl. She'd inherited my ability to read people, a skill her mother seemed to have lost somewhere along the way. Sometimes adults have to deal with complicated situations. Honey, is that why you didn't come? Mom said you were too sick to travel, but then she told Mrs. Patterson next door that there wasn't enough room in the resort for extra people. Extra people. As if I were some random +1 rather than the woman who'd made their vacation possible. Your mom and I had a disagreement. Chloe, sometimes families go through difficult times. Are you and Mom not talking anymore? Like when she and Aunt Jennifer had that fight about the wedding? Sarah and her sister had feuded for 2 years over Jennifer's decision to elope instead of having a big wedding Sarah could help plan and take credit for. The irony wasn't lost on me that Sarah was repeating the same pattern of demanding control over other people's major life decisions. I hope we'll work things out eventually, but some things can't be fixed with just an apology. Mom's been crying a lot since we got back, and Dad's really angry. He keeps saying something about lawyers and unfair situations. Before I could respond, Sarah's voice carried across the yard. Chloe, where are you? You're not supposed to bother Grandma when she's not feeling well. Chloe looked at me with wise 16-year-old eyes. You're not sick at all, are you, Grandma? No, sweetheart. I'm not sick. I'm just tired of being taken advantage of. By Mom and Dad? Out of the mouths of babes. That's between your parents and me. But I want you to know that whatever happens, I love you and your brother very much. This has nothing to do with you kids. Chloe! Sarah's voice was getting closer and more frantic. I should go, Chloe said, but she hugged me tightly first. I love you too, Grandma, and I'm sorry about whatever Mom and Dad did. After she left, I sat in my kitchen thinking about that conversation. The children weren't blind to their parents' behavior. They'd noticed the inconsistencies, the lies, the strange tension. How long before Sarah and Michael started poisoning them against me, painting me as the villain in this story? My phone rang. Sarah's number. "Mom, what did you say to Chloe? She's asking questions about lawyers and money." "I told her that you and I had a disagreement, nothing more." "She said you told her you were tired of being taken advantage of. How could you say that to a child?" "She's 16. Sarah, not 6. And she's smart enough to notice when adults are lying to her. Just like I finally got smart enough to notice when my own daughter was lying to me." "We never lied to you." "Really? Then the mortgage isn't actually $4,200? You didn't take out a second loan for $40,000? You didn't tell the children I was sick instead of admitting your husband excluded me from the vacation?" Silence. Then quietly, "We were trying to protect everyone." "No, Sarah. You were trying to protect yourselves, and now you're discovering that protection comes with a price tag." That's when she said the words that changed everything. "Fine. If this is how you want to play it, Mom, then you're going to lose a lot more than money. You'll lose your grandchildren too." The threat hung in the air like poison. She was going to use my grandchildren as weapons against me, leverage to force my compliance. The same woman who'd just seen her daughter give me a loving hug was prepared to destroy that relationship to get her hands back in my wallet. "Sarah," I said very quietly, "you just made the biggest mistake of your life." After I hung up, I called David. "Change of plans. I don't just want to buy the house when it goes into foreclosure. I want to destroy them completely. What are my options?" David's response was immediate and ruthless. "If you want to go nuclear, we can. First, I'll file a formal claim against the property for the full amount you've contributed, $80,000 plus the mortgage payments. Second, we can investigate their finances for fraud. If they lied to you about their financial situation to obtain money, that's criminal. What kind of investigation? Bank records? Tax returns? Employment verification? If Michael's promotion story is fabricated, if they've been hiding assets or income, we can expose everything." The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Michael stood on my porch, looking haggard and desperate. Gone was the cocky man who'd made jokes about my appetite at dinner parties. This Michael was wrinkled, unshaven, and reeked of desperation. "Mrs. Thompson, we need to talk. I think our lawyers are handling communication now, Michael. Please, just 5 minutes. Sarah doesn't know I'm here." Against my better judgment, I let him in. He sat heavily on my couch, the same couch where he'd once made jokes about old people being technologically challenged, while I quietly paid his mortgage. "Look, I know we messed up. Sarah got carried away with the house stuff, and I should have stopped it." "You should have stopped lying to me, you mean?" "We were desperate. My job, the promotion thing, it's complicated." I waited, letting the silence stretch. Desperation makes people reveal more than they intend. "The truth is, I've been on thin ice at work for 6 months. The promotion isn't happening. They're actually talking about layoffs, and my name is on the list." "Interesting. So Michael's golden future was as fictional as their gratitude. Why didn't you just tell me the truth?" "Because Sarah was convinced you wouldn't help if you knew how bad things really were. She said you only respected success, that you'd cut us off if you knew I might lose my job." Sarah had said that about me? The woman who'd raised her alone after her father left, working 2 jobs and never once making her feel like we were struggling? And you believed her? I wanted to believe the promotion was still possible. I wanted to believe we could pay you back with interest like we promised. But instead, you spent my money on BMWs and vacations while lying about your finances. Michael's face crumpled. The BMW was leased before everything went bad. And the Cabo trip? Sarah's parents gave us that for Christmas. We couldn't cancel without explaining why. More lies built on lies. Sarah's parents, who lived on Social Security, had supposedly gifted them a $10,000 vacation. Michael, do you understand that every word out of your mouth makes this worse? I'm trying to be honest now. You're trying to save yourself now. There's a difference. He looked up at me with bloodshot eyes. What do you want? Money? We'll pay you back somehow. An apology? I'll grovel if that's what it takes. Just don't destroy my children's lives over this. Your children. Not our grandchildren, not Sarah's children. Your children. Even now, you can't acknowledge my relationship to them. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Just like when you decided I wasn't family enough for Cabo. You've made it crystal clear where I stand in this family hierarchy. I stood up, signaling the conversation was over. Here's what's going to happen. Michael, you're going to lose the house, your credit will be destroyed, and everyone in town will know exactly why. You're really going to ruin us over hurt feelings? I'm going to ruin you over 3 months of systematic lying, financial manipulation, and emotional abuse. The hurt feelings are just a bonus. After he left, I called David with an update. Michael just confessed that his job is in jeopardy, and the promotion never existed. Also, Sarah apparently told him I only respect success and would cut them off if I knew the truth. Perfect. That establishes premeditation for the fraud. They deliberately misrepresented their situation to obtain money from you. The afternoon brought another surprise. A knock from Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor, looking concerned. Maggie, I hope you don't mind me asking, but there's been a lot of activity at Sarah's house. Moving trucks, people going in and out. Is everything all right? Moving trucks? They were trying to flee before the foreclosure was complete. What kind of moving trucks? The expensive kind. They've been loading furniture all morning. Sarah told me they were putting things in storage temporarily, but she shrugged. It looked like they were packing everything valuable. Of course they were. Asset hiding 101. Move the expensive stuff before creditors could claim it. Thanks for letting me know. Mrs. Patterson. I immediately called David. They're moving assets. Can we stop them? Already on it. I filed an emergency motion this morning freezing their assets pending resolution of the fraud investigation. If they're caught moving anything of value, it's contempt of court. This was getting better by the hour. The next morning, David called with news that made my entire week. Margaret, you're not going to believe what the forensic accountant found. Try me. Michael has been unemployed for 2 months. He's been getting severance pay and pretending to go to work every day. Sarah has no idea. He's been lying to her too? It gets better. The BMW payments are 3 months behind. The credit cards are maxed out. And here's the kicker. They took out a home equity line of credit against the house for $60,000 and didn't tell you. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. They'd been using my down payment and mortgage payments to qualify for additional loans against the property I'd essentially purchased for them. How is that even legal? It's not, technically. They committed fraud to obtain the original mortgage by inflating their income, and they've been using your money to cover their deception. We're talking about potential criminal charges. What kind of charges? Fraud? Identity theft if they forged any documents? Possibly racketeering if we can prove they planned this from the beginning. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Mom, we need to talk. It's important. I ignored it. An hour later, she showed up at my door, and this time she wasn't alone. She'd brought Ryan, my 14-year-old grandson, as emotional ammunition. Hi, Grandma, Ryan said, looking confused. Mom said you weren't feeling well and needed cheering up. I'm feeling fine, sweetheart. Your mother and I just need to have an adult conversation. Sarah's jaw was tight. Ryan, why don't you go play in Grandma's backyard for a few minutes? After he left, Sarah turned to me with fire in her eyes. You called the bank. You froze our accounts. We can't access our own money. Your money? You mean the money you borrowed against a house I'm paying for? That's our house. We live there. We make the payments. You haven't made a payment in 4 months. I've been making the payments and apparently financing your secret home equity loan as well. Sarah's face went pale. How did you? Michael said you didn't know about that. Michael has said a lot of things that turned out to be lies, like the fact that he's been unemployed for 2 months while pretending to go to work. The color drained completely from Sarah's face. That's not. He can't be. He leaves every morning. He comes home complaining about his boss. Call him right now. Ask him where he is. Sarah fumbled for her phone with shaking hands. I watched her face change as she listened to whatever excuse Michael was making. You're at work, right? In your office? A pause. Can you prove it? Send me a picture of your desk. She hung up and stared at me with devastated eyes. He hung up on me. Sarah, your husband has been lying to both of us. The difference is, I figured it out and stopped giving him money. You married him. We can fix this. I'll get a full-time job. We'll pay you back. With what qualifications? You've been working part-time retail for 20 years while I subsidized your lifestyle. That's cruel. What's cruel is using your children as weapons to manipulate me. What's cruel is lying about mortgage amounts and down payments. What's cruel is excluding me from family events while I pay your bills. Ryan came back inside, sensing the tension. Is everything okay? Mom, why are you crying? Sarah wiped her eyes quickly. Everything's fine, baby. Grandma and I are just working through some grown-up stuff. I looked at my grandson. Really looked at him. 14 years old and already learning that adults lie to protect their own interests. Ryan, your mom and I are having some financial disagreements. It's nothing you did wrong, and it's nothing you need to worry about. Are you and Mom going to stop talking like you and Aunt Jennifer? I hope not. But sometimes adults have to make difficult decisions when people they trust betray that trust. Sarah shot me a warning look. But I was done protecting her from the consequences of her choices. Ryan was old enough to understand that actions have consequences, even when those actions are taken by people you love. After they left, I sat in my living room feeling oddly empty. The victory was everything I'd wanted, but seeing the devastation in Sarah's eyes when she realized Michael had been lying to her too, it was harder than I'd expected. My phone rang. David's voice was excited. Margaret, we just hit the jackpot. Michael had been filing fraudulent tax returns, claiming income from his old job for months after he was fired. The IRS is now involved. The satisfaction was immediate and overwhelming. How much trouble is he in? Federal charges, potentially. Tax fraud, bankruptcy fraud if they try to file. This is serious prison time we're talking about. I thought about Ryan's confused face, about Chloe's worried questions. Then I thought about the text message excluding me from Cabo, about months of lies and manipulation, about Sarah threatening to keep my grandchildren from me. Good, I said. Let it burn. The next week brought chaos to Sarah and Michael's perfect little world. Michael's employer confirmed he'd been terminated for falsifying sales reports. Apparently, his creative relationship with the truth extended to work as well. The IRS froze their remaining accounts pending investigation, and the foreclosure proceedings accelerated due to evidence of asset hiding. Sarah called me every day, alternating between rage and desperation. I stopped answering. Let her leave voicemails. Let her experience what it felt like to be ignored by someone who was supposed to care about her. But Thursday morning brought a knock that changed everything. Chloe stood on my porch, school backpack over her shoulder, tears streaming down her face. Grandma, can I stay with you? Mom and Dad are screaming at each other constantly, and last night Dad punched a hole in the wall. I pulled her inside immediately. Of course, sweetheart. Are you hurt? Is Ryan okay? Ryan's staying at his friend Jake's house. We're both we can't be there right now. I made her hot chocolate and let her cry on my shoulder. 16 years old and dealing with her parents' complete meltdown. This wasn't what I'd wanted when I started this war. Grandma, Mom says you're trying to steal our house. Is that true? I chose my words carefully. Your parents asked me to loan them money for the house, then lied about how much they needed and what they were using it for. When I found out, I stopped giving them money. Now they can't afford the payments. But you could afford to keep helping them, right? You have enough money? The million-dollar question. Could I afford to keep subsidizing their lifestyle indefinitely? Probably. Should I have to? Chloe, if someone lies to you and takes advantage of your generosity, what do you do? I guess I'd stop helping them, even if stopping meant they'd face consequences. She thought about this seriously. Even then, because if you don't have consequences, they'll just keep lying. Smart girl. Smarter than her mother. That's exactly right. But what about me and Ryan? We didn't lie to you. And you won't be punished for your parents' choices. Whatever happens to the house, you and Ryan will always have a place with me. Her relief was visible. Really? Even if Mom tries to stop us from seeing you? Your mother is angry and scared right now, but she can't keep you from having a relationship with me forever. You're 16, Ryan's 14, old enough to make your own decisions about who you want in your life. That afternoon, Sarah showed up in a rage. Where is my daughter? She's upstairs doing homework. And before you ask, she came here on her own because she was afraid of the violence in your house. What violence? Michael was just frustrated. He punched a hole in the wall, Sarah, in front of your children. You don't understand the pressure we're under. We're losing everything. You're losing everything because you chose to lie and steal instead of being honest about your situation. We never stole anything. I pulled out the folder David had prepared with all the evidence. You lied about the down payment amount. That's fraud. You lied about the mortgage payment amount. More fraud. You took out a home equity loan using money I provided as collateral without telling me. That's theft. And Michael filed false tax returns claiming income he wasn't earning. That's federal fraud. Sarah stared at the documents, her face going through a range of emotions. Shock, denial, anger, and finally, devastation. I didn't know about the tax thing. I thought he was still working. But you knew about the other lies. You knew exactly how much that down payment was, and you chose to deceive me. Because we were desperate. Because we needed help and didn't think you'd give it if you knew how bad things were. So instead of trusting me with the truth, you decided to manipulate me with lies. And when I discovered the truth, instead of apologizing, you threatened to keep my grandchildren from me. I was angry. You were showing me exactly who you really are. Someone who uses her own children as weapons to get what she wants. Chloe appeared at the top of the stairs. Mom, can you please stop yelling? This is exactly why I can't be at home right now. Sarah looked up at her daughter with desperate eyes. Chloe, you don't understand what Grandma is doing to our family. I understand that you and Dad have been lying to everyone, including me and Ryan. I understand that you're losing the house because you can't afford it without Grandma's help. And I understand that instead of apologizing for lying, you're trying to blame Grandma for not wanting to be lied to anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. My 16-year-old granddaughter had just articulated the situation more clearly than any adult in the room. Sarah's face crumpled. How did this all go so wrong? It went wrong the moment you decided that lying was easier than telling the truth, I said quietly. And it got worse every time you chose to double down instead of coming clean. What can I do to fix this? For the first time in weeks, Sarah was asking instead of demanding. Progress. Start by being honest. With me, with your children, with yourself. Stop blaming everyone else and take responsibility for the choices you've made. And then you'll help us? I looked at Chloe, standing on the stairs watching her mother beg. Sarah, the time for me to rescue you has passed. You're a grown woman with children of your own. It's time you started acting like it. The foreclosure sale was scheduled for the following Tuesday. David had prepared all the paperwork for my cash offer, and we were confident I'd be the only serious bidder. After all, who else would want a house with a complicated legal history and potential federal fraud implications? That's when Michael made his final, desperate move. Sunday evening, my doorbell rang. I expected Sarah, maybe the children, possibly even Michael trying one last manipulation. Instead, I found a distinguished older man in an expensive suit, flanked by two younger men who screamed, "Lawyers." Mrs. Thompson? I'm Frederick Morrison, senior partner at Morrison, Klein & Associates. We represent the Henderson family. I thought Janet Morrison was representing them. Janet is my daughter and a junior associate. This situation has escalated beyond her experience level. He wasn't wrong about the escalation. What can I do for you, Mr. Morrison? May we come in? I think you'll find our offer very interesting. Against my better judgment, I let them into my living room. Frederick Morrison had the kind of presence that commanded attention. Silver-haired, impeccably dressed, radiating the confidence that comes from decades of high-stakes negotiations. Mrs. Thompson, my clients have made some poor decisions, but they're prepared to make this right. We're authorized to offer you complete repayment of all funds contributed, plus interest, plus an additional $50,000 in compensation for your inconvenience. I nearly choked. Where exactly would they get that kind of money? Michael's unemployed and under federal investigation. That's where this gets interesting. Frederick smiled the kind of smile that should have warned me. It seems Michael's family has been unaware of the extent of his financial difficulties. His parents are quite wealthy, and when informed of the situation, they've agreed to settle all debts to preserve the family reputation. Michael's parents? The same parents who'd supposedly been too important to accommodate extra people on the Cabo trip? Dr. Charles Henderson is a prominent cardiovascular surgeon. His wife, Patricia, owns several successful real estate ventures. They're deeply embarrassed by their son's behavior and want to resolve this quietly. Something felt wrong about this. Michael had never mentioned his parents being wealthy. In 3 years of family gatherings, they'd been portrayed as middle-class retirees, not wealthy professionals trying to avoid scandal. I'm sorry, Mr. Morrison, but I'm going to need to verify this independently. Of course. In fact, they're prepared to meet with you personally. They're flying in tomorrow specifically to handle this situation. After they left, I immediately called David. Something's not right about this offer. Can you investigate Michael's parents? Already on it. I got suspicious when expensive lawyers started throwing around large sums of money for a fraud case. Give me an hour. 45 minutes later, David called back with information that changed everything. Margaret, sit down for this. Doctor, Charles Henderson died 3 years ago. Patricia Henderson moved to a care facility 6 months ago due to advanced dementia. My blood went cold. Then who? Michael's been using his deceased father's identity to obtain credit. The expensive lawyers? They're being paid with funds from accounts Michael opened using his father's social security number and medical credentials. Identity theft of his own father? It gets worse. The wealthy parent's story was a complete fabrication designed to buy time while Michael liquidates his father's estate illegally. He's been forging his mother's signature on financial documents while she's been in memory care. I felt physically sick. The depths of Michael's criminality were staggering. What about the lawyer's offer? Completely fraudulent. The money doesn't exist, except what Michael has already stolen from his incapacitated mother and dead father. Dear God, Sarah has no idea, does she? Based on our investigation, no. Michael's been maintaining this fiction for months, possibly years. He's been telling Sarah his parents were helping them financially while actually stealing from elderly and deceased family members. I hung up and sat in my kitchen, stunned. Sarah was married to a monster. A man who would steal from his own dead father and dementia-addled mother to maintain his lifestyle. A man who would use high-priced lawyers and elaborate lies to try to manipulate his way out of consequences. But I wasn't finished with him yet. Tuesday morning, I sat in the county courthouse waiting for the foreclosure sale to begin. David was beside me with our cashier's check, ready to purchase the house that had started this entire mess. Sarah and Michael weren't there. They'd been arrested the night before on federal fraud charges. But that's not the end of the story. That's just when the real satisfaction began. You see, while Michael had been desperately trying to steal money from his dead father's estate, I'd been making some calls of my own. It turns out, Patricia Henderson's care facility had been wondering why her monthly payments had stopped coming. The staff was quite interested to learn that her son had been forging her signature while telling them she was traveling abroad. I purchased the house for exactly what they still owed on it. $420,000. A bargain, considering I'd already invested $80,000 in the down payment. The mortgage company was happy to get their money. I was happy to own a beautiful 4-bedroom house in the best neighborhood in town. But the real victory came 3 days later. Sarah called me from the county jail, where she was being held as a potential accomplice in Michael's fraud scheme. Mom, please. I didn't know about any of the identity theft. I thought his parents were really helping us. I know you didn't know, Sarah. That's why I've hired a lawyer for you. You, what? You're still my daughter, still my... And despite everything that's happened, I don't want to see you destroyed by Michael's crimes. The silence on the other end stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Finally, Sarah's voice came back, small and broken. Why would you help me after everything I did to you? Because that's what real family does. We don't exclude each other from important events. We don't threaten to withhold grandchildren. We don't lie about needing help. But when someone we love makes terrible mistakes, we don't abandon them either. I'm so sorry, Mom, for all of it. The lies, the manipulation, letting Michael treat you the way he did. I was so focused on keeping up appearances that I lost sight of what really mattered. Apology accepted. But Sarah, this is your rock bottom. What you do from here determines whether you become a better person or repeat these same patterns. What happens now? Now you serve whatever sentence you get for your part in this. You get counseling to understand how you let this happen. You rebuild your relationship with your children based on honesty instead of manipulation. And you never, ever take advantage of people who love you again. And us? Our relationship? I looked out the window of my new house. Yes, I moved into Sarah and Michael's former dream home, at the pool where my grandchildren now spent their afternoons. Chloe and Ryan lived with me now, at least until Sarah got back on her feet. They were thriving without the constant tension and lies. We'll see, Sarah. Trust is like a broken bone. It can heal, but it's never quite the same. You'll have to prove yourself worthy of it again. I will. I promise I will. 6 months later, Sarah was sentenced to 18 months in minimum security prison. Michael got 7 years in federal prison for identity theft, tax fraud, and elder abuse. The house Michael bought with stolen money? I'm living in it quite comfortably, thank you very much. My grandchildren visit Sarah every weekend. They're both doing better in school without the chaos of their parents' financial disasters hanging over them. Chloe got the lead in the school play. Ryan made the honor roll. And me? I'm 68 years old, living in a beautiful house I own outright, with a healthy bank account and 2 grandchildren who know exactly how much I love them. I've also started dating again. A nice widower I met at the community center who thinks I'm remarkable for taking such good care of my family. Sarah was right about one thing. Family should take care of each other. She just had the direction backwards. It was never my job to fund her fantasy lifestyle. It was her job to earn my generosity through love, respect, and honesty. The text that started this whole thing, "You won't be joining us on the Cabo trip today. Michael wants his family only," is framed in my kitchen now. A reminder that sometimes the worst thing people can do to you is show you exactly who they really are. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply refusing to be taken advantage of anymore. I hope you enjoyed my story of how I turned the tables on a daughter who forgot that respect is a two-way street. The house is lovely, by the way. The pool is perfect for entertaining my real family. The people who love me for who I am, not what I can give them. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.